In this video, we're going to take a look at an unhealthy versus healthy relationship. Now, some of the words that you might use to describe an unhealthy relationship would be hot and cold, or toxic, or a lot of drama, or you're crazy. It gives you anxiety, it feels chaotic or dysfunctional. You feel like you're on a roller coaster ride, or you're walking on eggshells. A healthy relationship, you'd feel happy, you feel relaxed, you could trust and feel calm and safe and peaceful. And this is what people strive for. This is what people want, is a healthy relationship. A lot of people may be in an unhealthy relationship and not even know it. Let's go ahead and look at a timeline and how it would play out when two healthy people meet. A lot of times this is the happiness timeline, and for a healthy people, this timeline, they would be like 90% happy or 95% happy. Their happiness level is high, and they're satisfied with life. And so this line represents that, their happiness and satisfaction in life, and it's very high. Like I said, probably 90% of the time. They may have some ups and downs, maybe some tragic thing happens, but it's pretty steadfast. So when two healthy people meet and get into the relationship will look like this on the line. So as they get to know each other over a long period of time, it starts growing. And as you can see, it takes time for that relationship to grow. It takes time for the people to meet each other and get to know each other. Maybe in 2 years, after they really start having a good sense of each other, they may go on that honeymoon, and it may shoot up for a while. And then, it'll start coming back down. The honeymoon's over, they say. And then it'll start leveling off. So they'll go back level off. But whatever their happiness level was, it's actually going to be boosted. And there's been so many studies done that show, like if you're in a healthy relationship, that your happiness line is going to boost up. You're actually going to be happy. So that's with two healthy people. That's how their timeline looks. Now we're also going to look at the unhealthy, how two unhealthy people get together. Because normally healthy people find other healthy people. Healthy people are turned off by unhealthy relationships. And in the same with unhealthy people, when they see someone healthy, a healthy relationship, they're turned off by it. It's unattractive to them. And so let's take a look at the unhealthy line. So, and a lot of times unhealthy people are they have unhealthy traits. They may have mental issues. And so their happiness, like let's say the healthy person's 90% healthy and happy on their happy line. So the unhappy person or the unhealthy person may be at 40 or 50 or 60. Their happiness line may be a lot lower, and a lot of times their happiness line is more chaotic, more up and down, more drama. So they may have addictions. They get their paycheck and then they go out and blow it at the casino on the weekend, and now they're kind of unhappy and depressed. But as they were going to the casino, they were happy, or while they were drinking that 12-pack that night, they were happy. But then it has its downsides. So unhealthy traits and habits can give you a chaotic lifestyle. And what'll happen is the person down here with the lower happiness, the unhealthy person, will be looking, maybe they'll say something to themselves like, man, if I could just find somebody to make me happy, or if I was just in a relationship, then I would be happy. But you already know how that's going to work out. It's going to be a train wreck. But there may be cases where people get together and they grow, but I would think those are. So here's what it looks like when two unhealthy people meet. It starts out fast, so you can see this line. It's gradual over time. They get to know each other. They're not going to just jump in with somebody they don't really know. This could take like 2 years. The unhealthy person or unhealthy people will meet, and it'd be like love at first sight, and it just goes off the chart. And so it's going to be like rocket fuel when they get together, and it's just so amazing. But they don't even spend the time to get to know each other. See in here, they're just in love, and it feels amazing, and they're just jumping in both feet. And as you can see, the healthy people take their time to get to know each other. The unhealthy people don't. They may jump in and start having sex real quick. and then it's off to the moon. It feels amazing. They're down here at 40 or 50% happiness. Now all of a sudden they're at 200% happiness. But inevitably, what normally happens. The crash comes. And it goes from really happy to really sad. And then the chaos starts, the up and down of the relationship, the highs and lows. And so this would be considered a unhealthy relationship, this chaoticness, this up and down. So if you say to yourself, every relationship I get in is chaotic, or I've always found the crazy ones, or my relationships are always dysfunctional. Well, at some point you'll have to start trying to figure out, well, why is that? And the key here is unhealthy finds unhealthy. So if you're unhealthy, then you're going to find other unhealthy people. And that's the reason that you're having those unhealthy relationships. So the relationship starts with yourself. So if you're going to start anywhere, you have to look at yourself and find out, why are you choosing these unhealthy people? Most of this comes up from your upbringing. Like if you're missing something in your life, you could have real low self-esteem. And then you're trying to find somebody to fill that void. And there's a lady that wrote a book, and she did a really good job. And she said that the only person who's going to consistently be able to give you all that love you didn't get as a child, or all that attention that you didn't get as a child, that you have this big open hole in you, is yourself. I mean, nobody else is going to want to take on that burden. So you're basically having to reparent yourself from things that happen in your childhood. So if you're having unhealthy relationships, you have to look at the relationship you have with yourself and how you're going to change that, and how you're going to become healthy. So once you become healthy, then you'll meet other healthy people. You'll be attracted to other healthy people. You'll break out of this unhealthy relationship mode. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you even become aware that you are in unhealthy relationships, or you're unhealthy yourself? And one of the biggest indicators would be you consistently feel like you're dating unhealthy people. So that would be one of the ways to look at it. Or if you're single, you're saying to yourself, man, I would be happy if I could just find somebody. You're unhappy in your life, and you're trying to find somebody, and then you'll be happy. So that would be another huge indicator that, hey, put on the brakes here. I'm maybe needing to do some work on myself. So once you get to a point where you're happy with yourself, you're calm, you're content with yourself, then that would be the time to start dating. So one of the biggest keys to becoming healthy is the self-awareness. Because without the self-awareness, you're not going to be able to know if maybe you do have major depression. Maybe you're a hoarder. You ever see those hoarders? They don't think they have any problems whatsoever because they don't have the self-awareness. Maybe you come home and drink a 6-pack every night, but you don't think you have a drinking problem. Or you're smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day and you think you're healthy. Or you have an addiction where you go out and spend all your money gambling. And so you may not have that self-awareness to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to look into these things. So the self-awareness is very interesting because if you read on forums, you'll see psychologists, they have people come into their offices and they'll ask them, they'll say, well, how do you feel? And the client will look at them with the blank stare, and they'll say, I don't know how I feel. And because they don't have this self-awareness, they truly don't know how they feel. A lot of times they'll ask them, how was your childhood? And most people will say, oh, it was wonderful. But then they start digging down in their childhood, and they're like, oh, you left home when you were 12 years old, or oh, your parents were never around. So the self-awareness is the first key to becoming in a healthy relationship. If you look on my channel, you'll see there's a video from a lady, and the video that I have on there, I think, is her top of her game. If you see two boxers boxing, with their best round ever, or you see someone playing the violin, it's their best piece they've ever played. I think this is her best piece that she's ever made, and she talks about the self-awareness, and she does a great job about how to become self-aware, and how to get from unhealthy to healthy. So what is self-awareness? How do you become self-aware? Self-awareness starts with looking at yourself, being self-aware of what you're doing and what you're thinking and what you're saying. An example would be, let's say you're in the kitchen and you drop something and you burn it, and you get so mad and so angry, and you can't stop from being angry. So if you don't have any self-awareness, you'll just get angry and angry, and you'll just stay angry, maybe for hours. But if you have self-awareness, you can see yourself saying, I'm getting angry. Why am I getting so angry? I need to calm down. And if you're at the point where you can see that you're getting angry and say, hey, I need to calm down, then that's incredibly awesome self-awareness. And that's just one example. So once you start learning to do it on one thing, then you can do it on other things. If you find yourself wanting to go gamble, and you could at some point say, hey, I got a gambling problem. That's self-awareness. Or, hey, I'm an alcoholic. That's self-awareness. Or, oh, I think I have major depression. That's self-awareness. When you get to that point where you can just start looking at yourself and listening to your thoughts and your actions, almost like if you're outside of yourself and you're just looking down at yourself, watching and listening. When you can start doing that, that's when you can start growing. That's when you can start looking at the healthy traits. That's when you can start looking at any unhealthy traits that you have, and then start working on fixing those. And that's where it all starts, with that self-awareness. And then you can move on and say, hey, what traits do I have that I need to work on, and what traits would I like to have? And here's just a few that I think are really good, and things that I think that you really need for a good relationship with yourself and others. Assertiveness is an awesome one. People with low self-esteem or codependency, they want people to like them so much that they can't be assertive, because they're scared. Oh, if I say something that upsets this person, then they're not going to like me. And then if they don't like me, then because you don't like yourself, then who's going to like me? I got to have all these people liking me so I can feel good about myself. So that would be that. So learning that assertiveness helps with the codependency and low self-esteem, to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, I don't feel that way, or I don't want to do that. So assertiveness is an awesome one. Honesty is another awesome one. If you can't be honest with yourself, how are you going to be honest with others? How are you going to be honest with others about the feelings of what you want? You're not going to be able to be assertive and tell them what you want, because you can't be honest with yourself or others. So being honest with yourself and others is awesome. You'll see some people that are passive aggressive, it's called. You'll ask them, are you okay? Is everything okay? And they'll tell you, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine. When in reality, it's not. You can tell they're upset, but they're not going to tell you about it. That's not being honest. Being honest would be able to look them in the eye and say, yes, I am upset. I'm upset, and this is the reason. So another awesome one. Self-discipline, one of the greats, because self-discipline, look at this: gambling, shopping, spending all this money, you're in debt, and you have no self-discipline. Self-discipline, you can't drink that 6-pack every night. You can't smoke those 2 packs of cigarettes. You need to go out and run, take care of yourself. That's where the self-discipline is a great healthy trait to strive for. So the key takeaway to this is, if you want to be in a healthy relationship, then you have to become healthy yourself. And becoming healthy starts with self-awareness. And once you get that self-awareness down, once you can start listening to your thoughts and what you're doing and how you're talking to other people and how you're interacting with other people, that's where it starts. And if you can look at these disorders right here on this list and say, hey, do I have these? Do I get in a relationship and jump in too fast? Am I a love addict, where once I get in a relationship, I'll do anything that they say, and I don't want to make any problems because I'm scared they'll leave me because I'm codependent and have low self-esteem? Can you look at yourself and say that? Or say that you're not, but can you understand that portion of it? And just like love avoidance, are you the type of person that gets in a relationship but just feels suffocated anytime you're around someone? A lot of people, when they're kids, their parents suffocate them. And so when they think of love, and they may not even be aware of it, and most of them aren't even aware that they're a love avoidant because things that happen in their childhood. If you can look at that and get to a point where you say, yeah, I am a love avoidant, and then maybe see that pattern of what happened as a child, where you're suffocated by a caretaker, and you feel like love is just going to suffocate you. So you may jump in hot and heavy, but then you'll jump out just as fast. So the very interesting intimacy issues, and these can get very deep, but once you can start getting into them and learning them and studying them, then you can start healing and getting better and get your happiness line from 30 or 40 or 50 and get it up to 60, 70, 80. You can be happy with life. Instead of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes, you quit that habit, and now you're running 2 miles a day, 6 miles a day. You feel awesome. You've changed your diet. So start with that self-awareness. Do an inventory of yourself. See what you need to work on. Also look at your good traits and say, hey man, these are my awesome traits, and I'm going to keep working on these, and these are the traits that I need to work on. Like I said, most of this stuff is from a childhood. They're learned. Some of it is nature versus nurture. It's from you inherited it. A lot of it is the way that you were brought up. You've seen those little kids they bring over from the Russian orphanage. Back in the 80s, they had all these kids that didn't have parents, and they had so many orphanages that the nurses weren't able to pick them up and take care of them. They would feed them, but they didn't give them any love or holding them. So when a lot of Americans went over there and got these orphans and raised them, and one of the problems they all started having is the kids couldn't bond with them. They were just like a wall between them, and they couldn't figure out why, but they finally did the research and said, hey, these kids were just left there laying in the baby pens, and no one picked them up and held them, so they don't know how to attach to their loved ones. So that is really sad. And they also did this, there's an experiment called Harlow's experiment, and what he did was he took these monkeys, and it was really kind of a sad, terrible experiment, but it just shows how profound it is, how much your childhood plays a part of your life. And a lot of people just don't realize it. So what he did was, see this metal, he would put monkeys in here, and they would have food, but they wouldn't have anything to cuddle or hold on to, or it wouldn't talk to them. And here's what would happen to them. They would have, as they grew up, they'd have all these different anxiety issues, and all these mental issues, and it was so sad. And the monkeys that had just a little bit of love, or they felt like it, they would grow up healthier. So you can imagine how important your childhood is. And some people, their childhood is not only bad, or not only just like neglect, but some are beaten, some are yelled at and just treated horribly. And you could imagine how that plays a part as you get older. And the really sad part is people aren't even aware of how it plays a part in their lives. They have no self-awareness of what's going on. They don't know what it can cause them. So, if they're having anxiety or avoidant disorder, low self-esteem. So, a lot of these things can spin off of these addictions and anger from what happened as a child. So, the moral to the story here is, if you want a healthy relationship, it starts with you. If you're in an unhealthy relationship and you don't know what to do, you start becoming aware of, like, hey, this doesn't seem healthy, and this is not really what I want. I want to change. The only person that you can start changing is yourself. If you say, hey, I want to change my significant other, it's their fault, then that's not going to work. You're going to have to change yourself first. Once you change yourself and you start getting this where you're more assertive, you have more self-discipline, then that assertiveness and that self-awareness is going to help you to help your partner. You can start looking them in the eye and saying, hey, I feel like this, we need to change this, or we need to do this. And once you get to that, you can start working on your partner if that's what you want. And then hopefully your partner will start to change too, and you can get them to change, and you can both grow, and it'll be wonderful. In some cases you can't. In some cases you start to grow, and you start to go a separate path, and then at that point you might grow and they're not wanting to grow, and then you might have to move on, and then at that point you would find somebody else who was healthy, and then you could have a healthy relationship. But it all starts with you. It all starts with self-awareness. I really hope this helps. If you're watching this video, this is the first step to becoming healthy. If you're unhealthy and you're watching this video, this is the first step, and it's awesome. You're becoming self-aware, and you're reading other information. There's tons of information out there on the internet, and read as much as you can, and just keep reading. It may take years to overcome, start becoming self-aware, and then overcoming any issues you may have. It may take years, but once the cat's out of the bag and you start seeing it, it's like knowing's half the battle. Once you're aware of it, then you can start fixing it, and you can move forward. So many people have, and you can do it. And I wish the very best for you and y'all's relationships. And if you have any questions, leave them below. Love to hear any stories that you have. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.